Hello and welcome everyone. I'm Robin Winn. I'm here with my dear friend, Charlotte Friborg, and we're here to talk about human design, business. Charlotte is a graduate of mine, and I really wanted to just interview you, Charlotte, and find out about your journey, where you started, what you're passionate about, how human design came in and opened your world, touched your world, and where you are now and what you're doing now. So I'm Robin Winn, and I am the author of 4 books on human design, and I am the founder of Awakening Through Human Design, the certification training for professionals. So, Charlotte, let's jump in with you and tell me a little bit, what are you passionate about?
Well, thank you, Robin, for having me. I'm very excited to be in this part of your series here of introducing your students. So I am and has always been very passionate about like having people do what they love to do. It's always been a mystery to me why people would have a job they didn't like or yeah, just not be fulfilled. And I recognized at some point in my life that early on in my journey, when I was getting to know myself, that I really had a strong belief at the same time as I wanted to be happy with what I do, that I could not be both an amazing mom and have a career that I liked. And I was like, oh, this is so I unraveled that and really become clear about how deeply ingrained my mom's story when having me, I was not a wanted child, and my probably my grandmother's story too. We just talked about a little earlier about my grandmother, who took care of me the first years of my life when my mom had to leave me to pursue her career. So all this was like it was in me. So I had to unravel that. Um, and I would say after I found out how I could change my story, it became even more important for me to help others also finding home to who they really are as soul beings. And I find that despite I have a lot of education, a lot of training, that human design actually have given me, I'm getting goosebumps now, Robin. Human design has really given me a unique set of, it's not even a tool, but it's a, when you know someone's human design as a coach or really as a mom in many different roles, it's just a beautiful, beautiful. I often explain it like an image or MRI or like access to each other that's beyond what, I mean, it's difficult to explain with a few words, but it's been a game changer for me. It really
Let
has.
me pause you for a second. I'm going
Yeah.
to zoom out for a second and say Charlotte has a program that works with moms and helping them have both their career and their role as mom, their fulfilled role as mom and their fulfilled role in their career. So you heard her talk a little bit about her own experience as a child where her mom had to leave her to have a career, and that there's an option we have now to have both a career and be the caretaker of our children. So, what I hear, Charlotte, is this is your passion. This is what you love. This is what you're devoted to. Upgrading our lives, making our lives function at a different level with moms who are fulfilled.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I have worked with men, but because of my own story, I just at some point made a decision like, I really just want to invite moms in because I know how hard it can be to juggle it all. And depending on where you live in the world, like some countries, it may be easier than others without going deeper into that conversation, but it's can just be really challenging.
Yeah. So, you and I met in this book program. You were writing your books on fulfilled working moms, and I was writing my books on human design. You had a session with me. This is like 2019, 2020. You had a session with me, and then you decided to take the program. Tell me why, what prompted you to take the program and what was your experience? You started to touch on it a little bit. What happened when you learned human design?
Well, I will always remember that first session I had with you. And just a few pieces of information in that session changed so much about how I learned to relearn to do life and business. And I would say just knowing I'm a generator, an emotional generator, and just knowing that I am not here to initiate, I am not here to push, but I am here to respond to things. That was one amazing piece because I had been trained in different places like fill up the space, just speak louder, project your voice, and all of that. But it's not working for someone like me unless I am in response. And then the next layer is that if you just talk a little bit about human design, I also have a totally open throat center, not even a gate there. So I really have to be invited. I cannot just open my mouth and speak and be heard. So just those two pieces of information were game changer in that session. And then later on, I want to add that you were also the one pointing out because when we were in mentorship with Marianne Williamson, and she pointed out that I'm a mystic from the homework she was reading of like we submitted homework to her and she said, you are a mystic. And you then pointed out to me, Charlotte, that's this channel here. I was like, wow. Like, so it's been all these pieces coming together that where I could really see the value of when we have access to this information, how it can help us to support, in my case, my clients, but we can also talk about my kids, but just for now in business, my clients to understand themselves better. And it's kind of a, I'll call it like a shortcut. And we live, our world is in despair. So we don't have time to, we need all to, I think, to step up and do our best now. Um, and this is a shortcut for us to really understand ourselves, have compassion for ourselves, have compassion for others, if we see it in relationship also. Yeah, so I just want to also just briefly touch about with kids, since I work with moms, that I didn't know my children's human design until they were adults. But when I looked up each of their design the first time and looked at them, and there are three different, one is a projector, one is an emotional generator, and one is an emotional manifester, generating manifester. I was like, oh my God, had I known this when my kids were little, I would have saved myself from going through so much frustration, talking about my open throat. And I have laughed about this with my kids also, because two of them especially have been interested in learning some of this too. And like how I would put so much effort into talking to them instead of wait for the invitation or just simply ask them and say, hey kids, I have an idea. Do you want to hear it? And then they say, yes. And then they would hear it. There's just so many levels where I knew that if I can learn this, I can make a better difference for others. So I jumped in.
You totally jumped in and you've stayed in and you've been supporting, teaching, mastermind, you've been all in. I remember you saying at one point, I don't know how I coached people before I knew human design. I do not know how I did it.
You're right. You're absolutely right. And I do have a lot of coaching skills and I have a very strong intuition. So I can see people, but this helps because I think you might have said this before, but I explain this to my clients and people I talk to also that it's like being a doctor and you have a patient coming in with pain in the arm and you're trying to find out where's the pain, what happens. Then you take an X-ray or an MRI and you have this image and the doctor can then show patient, like, look, here's what we need to work on. Here's what there might be a broken leg. We're not talking about being broken here as humans, but we haven't visual and we have, and that's what we have when we can look at someone's human design body graph. We can say, this is why you experience this. This is why, like, I'll give an example. I worked with a woman. She had had a business for many years. She was close to burnout. She almost gave it up. We looked up her design. She was a projector with line 4. Now, projectors need to really be aware of their energy to not burn themselves out. Others also, but just to talk a little bit about it, because they don't have a defined cycle with that sustainable energy. And then she had line 4, and line 4 is all about networking, deep connections. And she refused to do networking because she had wounds there, because her father was in the military and they always moved around. But I kept going back to it. And then she found out, the day she found out, oh my God, I know why. Because especially one place where they lived, she was so engaged in a dance community and loved it and had the best time of her life. But then her father, of course, had to move the family again. And that was when she decided, I will never be engaged in a community like that again because it's too painful. So we could look at it because we had human design. And she was open to try it. So she started reaching out to networks and she found her joy in her business again. And
Wow.
I
What
mean,
that is an amazing story.
I think
Really,
so.
really
Yeah.
amazing. Thank you for sharing that, Charlotte. So you're using human design all the time in your business now. It's interwoven in. It's just what you do.
Yes. I mean, I would not, I mean, if it's hard for me to work with clients who I don't know. I mean, I honestly, I haven't had, I'll help them find. Sometimes it can be tricky if people don't have their birth time, but I have found a way where I can help them, like to kind of find out about what time, and I love to do that work too.
So I'm going
It
to pause
takes,
you here because
yeah.
we're coming to a close, and I just want to give people a chance to work with you or to know who they would refer to you, or what can you say? Who should come to you? Can you say?
Well, thank you for that. Well, I would say that if you are a mom, a woman, like if you really feel like uncertain what's your next step, you might be somewhere in your career considering starting a business or not sure about how to change your business, move on with your business. If you have that uncertainty and um, maybe feel like burned out, a lot of fear and all of that, lack of confidence, how to move on, like you know what you want, but you don't know the next step, how to do it. I would love to help you. I have Idea Gate that's really active. I have a lot of both experience, worked experience, trained experience in many different ways we can do this. So yeah, so
I'll just add that Charlotte brings a lot of ground and that mystic aspect. So she's holding both sides of what's going to make this work, what's going to light you up. Deeply spiritual, deeply grounded and pragmatic and practical. So these two come together to like a Shazam and an opening. And the human design, having that human design like you were saying, Charlotte, gives you that MRI, gives you that way to just jump right in with understanding what's going on.
absolutely, yeah. And I want to say, I learned recently that actually science now proves that if we don't have a connection to our spiritual being, it's just impossible to be as like happy and grounded and fulfilled in life. I mean, science starts to prove it, and I really find human design is a beautiful way for us to get access to our soul being, our essence.
So you have a free gift for those of you who are watching this podcast, and it is your second book, Fulfilled Working Mom. And we've got the link in the notes here that you can go and download that book. You can also check out Charlotte's website. I'll put that in as well at charlottefriborg.com. So really generous, really love all that you're doing and all that you offer and all that you bring and how you're up leveling humanity. Just before we go, is there something you would say about the human design training if anybody were interested in taking that for their business? What about our training would you say, you know, might be a calling? Someone would know, oh yeah, I want that training.
Absolutely. I love Robin's training, Awakening Through Human Design. And I want to say where, for me, how it stands out is the relational presence. Now, we can download a lot of reports and all of that online, but I think where the experience is, that where the magic comes and where the transformation comes, because the transformation only comes when we apply the things. That's what we practice in Robin's community through relational presence by like really just diving in layer by layer by layer. So it's beautiful, it's relational, and we need that in this world right now with so much disconnect. You will have it's a beautiful community with a lot of love and very safe and very inclusive. So I highly recommend it if you really want to learn to use it in an organic way also and with respect. Like we don't want to just dump information that can be a waste of time and energy for everybody, but we will learn what does this person need to know now? Like, and that comes a lot through that relational presence. We don't just dump the information, but we present the information that will be most useful for the person in the moment now.
Thank you, Charlotte. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That's a very good description of it. Well, like I said, Charlotte and I are dear friends. We are on this path together, and it's an ever evolving path. If you are a working mom or want to be a working mom, if you know somebody who is struggling with that or struggling with fulfillment as a mom, Charlotte is a brilliant guide on this path. So check her out, get her free book, and thank you so much, Charlotte. So love and appreciate you.
Well, so love and appreciate you, and I'm proud of you for what you have built, and I'm grateful to be a part of your community
Mhm. Thank you,
and
Charlotte.
your friend.